There's nobody here. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. This is the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners workshop. It's Monday, December 2nd, 2024. It is 1:00 p.m. If everybody could please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. At this time in the agenda, we take a brief moment of silence for individual prayer, reflection, or meditation. We take this time to honor and remember our first responders and the men and women in our military who keep us safe and protect our freedoms at home and abroad. All right, thank you, everybody. All right, we have two items on the agenda, and we are going to, under additional items, we're going to review our legislative priorities at the as the third item. So the first item up is rules of procedure. This is really just a discussion, so everybody starts off on the same page. Again, it's helpful with two new members to be able to review all of the intricacies of the board operations. You guys have been students for over a year now, so you know what we're doing, but this is really the nuts and bolts of the background of it. So I wanted to, and even in my review, we reviewed this and made some changes last year, but even in my review, I've got a couple things that I think conflict and need some clarification. So did we want to start off with staff presentation or anything, or do we just want to have this as a board conversation?
We didn't really have anything
Okay.
in the way of presentation. We figured it would be just a good discussion with the board to talk about your rules of procedure and such.
So I guess it's from Commissioner Carney, Commissioner Richardson, if there's anything through this, right, we'll do a brief overview. It starts off with a lot of the main details of the commission meetings. Sets up how the business is run. I want to go to page 2 of 24, and this is a legal question. Under A, the third bullet says address all remarks to the commission as a body and not a member thereof. I remember reading recently the legislator made some clarifications as to public speech, especially from public comment. There were no restrictions on who they could address. I know City of Palm Coast tries exclusively for the public comment to address the mayor and not the other members or staff, but it was, I don't know if, I don't have the exact clarification that was stated, but do we need to change that language or that line to reflect public comments, the restrictions or the lack thereof on public comment?
I'm aware of some statutory language on public comment, but it doesn't affect this provision. It is standard that all comments go through the chair of the governing body, whatever that title is.
So should we just say address remarks, or do we, I mean, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it was school board recently. There was a
Okay.
ruling from, I believe it was state Supreme Court. I'll have to look it up. It basically said that you're not allowed to tell them to address the chair, that they can address anyone they like. It's a restriction on public First Amendment rights. Did you see that? Pierre did a piece about it. I'll find it. So
I don't know if we should take that out or just,
Well,
or have you review it.
we'll go through this and Sean can hear me.
Okay,
So I'll have him, Sean, you look that up, see
Okay.
what the story is.
all right, very
Or
good.
Sarah.
I have one highlighted on Section A as well.
Okay.
So the last bullet point, it says any person who disputes. If you go down to the fourth line, this is just grammatical, and I saw it again in the body, the continued body of this document. The sheriff office doesn't doesn't remove someone, a deputy of the sheriff's office. I think we've got it written just differently in both places. It says the deputy further on in the document. So you're going to be removed by a deputy from the sheriff's office, or the deputy that, like we have somebody assigned to us,
Right.
right, to our meetings. I just think that that's not grammatically correct.
I don't know that I have an opinion one way or the other on that one. What's
To be a
everybody
member
think?
of the sheriff's office? But in this sentence,
But in here, for some reason.
Maybe removed from the meeting by a sheriff's deputy?
what if it's the sheriff himself?
Maybe that's
Always
why it's
exceptions to the
inclusive.
rule.
I
That's why it would be a representative of the sheriff's office or,
think it's implied, but I'm open for clarification. At the end, it says the chair shall call upon the sheriff's officers or other security officer who may be present. So I think I think they clarify it at the bottom of that same bullet.
do we ever have a security company in here for any reason? No, it's always the sheriff?
They have been called in on occasion, but not to take any action such as this, but if things were getting a little robust.
Yeah, in the morning meetings, that they are stationed out there and could be needed if,
So why don't we just
they were
use the
called
word
upon.
security instead of the sheriff? They all both do it, right?
I'm okay with the
Oh.
way it is. It's,
Yeah,
I
they
don't want to
will
get
if the
too.
chair is directing that somebody cease and desist and they're not complying, they will ask them to leave politely.
Okay.
We've never had to remove anyone in all the years I've been here. Never had to remove anybody forcibly.
So just to give Mr. Hadid, the case is, it went to the Federal Appeals Court recently. It's Moms for Liberty Brevard County versus Brevard Public Schools. And Moms for Liberty Group won, they found that it was a violation to silence their freedom of speech when telling them where to direct comments to. So they would say direct it to the chair, and they found that to be a violation. The Federal Appeals Court did. And then there's some other things that they found within policy that was a violation. So we might have to take a look at what that recent finding was and then go back through our policy on what we deem is allowed speech.
We definitely will do that.
Okay.
We'll advise you. I mean, either at this
Understood.
meeting or
Yeah, this one,
subsequently.
it's new. It was a couple weeks ago.
So anything else through page 3? I've got one on page 3.
I did have a question about the commission inspection trips.
Right. Which number is that page?
5A. What do we think deems an inspection trip?
Like when if say we all went to Bulls Creek and
Corrected.
after the flood.
Right.
So that would be an inspection.
Got it, okay. So we'll ask for staff to come with us on some such to make, that's if
they would
our
lead
entire
it.
group goes, correct?
Right, if
Okay,
everybody-
got it, all right.
Yeah, if we all go together.
Got it. Just wasn't sure.
And I had on H at the top of page 3 on, it's in the event that an item is added to the agenda for commission consideration after the first community outreach period. I don't know in what instance that would even happen. And we've got language later on to where, we we avoid that as much as possible, adding items to the agenda on the same day as a meeting. It can be overruled with a supermajority, I think, is our rule later on, but where we can go against our rules and procedures, there's a way to do that. But I just wanted to point out that I don't know in an instance where we would do that, and I don't know if keeping that there makes sense, or in case of a rare occurrence, we keep it there. It just
Is it-
seems odd to me.
Is it possible that this is written for the situation where a citizen comes up, makes a public comment, the commission itself believes it's worthy of addressing then and adds it to the agenda, either then or some particular place in the agenda to assure the public that they may address it?
Um,
I mean, it's really more comfort language. You would be required to do that anyway if, say, you know, on your own decide, you know what, that Citizen Smith or Citizen Jones made a really good thing. Maybe we should take this up today. What do you all think? And then you all say, yeah, we'll take it up. And I'm sure that if you do take it up, if you had public comment on a motion, you would, if there was a motion, you would ask for public comment. I mean, you would do that. It's a matter of course. So I don't believe it's necessary. It's comfort, like I say, it's comfort language. It's what
So-
you'd have to do anyway.
right, and typically as we go down, we've written in language to avoid doing that
That's right.
because
To try to
we
stay
don't
away
bring something for a
Yes.
vote that hasn't been publicly noticed, that hasn't been brought,
vetted.
right, vetted. So we avoid those instances.
Exactly.
But again, I just thought it was odd. I mean, it can stay in
Well-
there as a comfort, but I don't,
Well, I don't know. I don't, I think in light of the context of your comments, I think it's fine to delete it.
okay.
Because the law protects it, right? Protects the public's access.
H,
This inconsistency, so to speak, with the other caveats may suggest to people that, hey, you will add items. The citizen who comes up and who fly specs the words, wait a minute, I can ask you to add this to the agenda today. And you would say, well, blah, blah. I mean, they'd have to accept your determination, but
right. I don't think it's needed because of the changes we made last year that
yeah. so
really
perfectly, unless. do you
make it
have any-
adverse to having.
Administration doesn't have any problem deleting it.
So we can, if it's okay, if there's consensus, what we're going to do is mark this up and they'll bring this back to us
Good.
for final approval.
Good.
Yes, we're not approving this today.
Guess not.
All right, so we'll go page 4. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, I did have a question on 4. Did you want to leave it as is or broaden the term? The speaker that represents a group is allowed 5 minutes. Do we want to, we don't have to. Do we want to include an attorney that represents a person, or it seems like we had several of those
Where are
this
you
year.
at?
It's at the third paragraph
got it.
down
I
at
got
the
it.
top. We say 3 minutes per person unless the speaker represents a group, which the speaker's allowed 5 minutes. Did anybody want to add?
Well, if you
Attorney
could
represent-
clarify, we've had
We-
different times, right? That's not, 5 minutes has not been common. We've given
6.
speakers more time if they're representing a group.
They keep doing the 3 minutes repetitively. That's what I've watched here.
Well, this is more like Hammock Association.
I understand a group that has a lawyer that's their
Or
representative.
Dennis, let's say Dennis Bayer.
Or there are
for the
different
group.
rules for public hearings, and if this is just public comment, this is on page 4,
That
the
says
third
hearing.
paragraph from the top. So it's under public hearings, though. It is under public
Yes.
hearings. Right?
Yep.
I'll
Yeah.
pull Sean. I know we give more time, do we not, than just 5 minutes for a group? If
So, I
somebody
mean,
comes
it's
up
in
and
the-
says, Dennis says I'm
It's in the grace,
representing,
it's in the grace of the chair.
Right.
okay. So,
If you think that they've been repetitive or they've made their point, I've seen you say, Mr. or Miss, wrap up, we got the message.
Right.
no, but somebody will come up, an attorney will come up and say, I'm here representing so-and-so.
right,
So
right.
instead of my 3 minutes, I'd like 10. This
Well, they
says
can
we're
ask-
giving them 5.
Well, they can ask you, and based on
Okay.
the circumstances, you can permit more.
Okay.
It may be that it's a complicated issue. There needs to be more
So
vetting
it
of
just
it.
falls under the
Maybe it's
chair.
technical. Maybe it's a lot of technical stuff.
At the,
Okay, so
I'd hate to have a hard and fast rule,
yeah.
Okay. So I like hard and fast rules.
right? You like them? Well,
What's the pleasure? Do we keep it as it is? You want to extend it?
well, I think we should. I thought that we should broaden it. I mean, the definition of a representative, right? Could be an attorney, right? Represents,
Mhm.
could be the attorney,
Yes.
right? So, do we think that they deserve more than 5 minutes?
Nope.
I don't know. Like, it's hard for me because I've seen some in here that needed and deserved 10 because the applicant would have a good, nice, 20, 25-minute run at it. And
Doesn't
here's
mean
the
you won't have
problem.
a civilian.
I'm sorry.
yeah, no, I think I know what you're going to say because
In some chambers.
Well, then you don't need me.
no, well, no, I was
I'm
thinking,
joking.
I was just
That
thinking
was a
you're going to say,
joke.
because what do you,
You left
do?
yourself
If,
wide
no, I'm
open.
all right. I'm good. I am
Can I
not.
bring
No,
up
no,
the-
here's my advice. We have hearings that are quasi judicial,
Mhm.
that are very serious. Property rights are being determined.
Right.
Very significant issues are being decided. They could be hotly contested. And we don't want to get in a position where we've not allowed somebody to fairly present their case, because that is a due process violation.
Yeah, I almost feel like you need a separate bucket for when, let's say it's an appeal or one of the situations where the abutting neighbor had a right to but we didn't give their attorney. A good example of that was the folks over in Plantation Bay who got the neighbor was able to appeal to us.
Yes.
But-
Special exception.
Right, but she would only get 3 minutes technically, or
They did give, in that instance, they gave the one gentleman their majority of time. If
I know,
remember
but like there
correctly,
was
the
nothing
HOA.
formal for the, these situations like that. I feel like maybe
Sometime-
we need
I'm
to
sorry.
write that.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
sometimes a group will get together, a group of homeowners, and have one of the homeowners speak on their behalf. I did that once.
Correct.
So I had unlimited amount of time because there were 50 people in the room, and you get 3 minutes per person, and they forwarded their to me. So it could go that
Yeah,
long.
but we don't do that.
Yeah, we
So
don't allow
I
that.
understand that. I understand that. So if we have an attorney, why are they any different than the residents?
Well, they're not. There would be, anybody can speak for a group. An HOA president could speak for the group
Right.
or.
We're
Okay.
just wondering about extension of time because some of them have had an issue where they're the abutting homeowner affected by like Mr. Spain, Brent Spain that spoke the other evening.
Mhm.
And he was limited to 5 minutes. And so it was Dennis Byer was limited to 5 minutes on behalf of that group.
Okay.
But the issue was much more complex. I don't know. I'd rather have a hard rule, maybe it's not an extreme amount, but maybe 10 minutes or 8 minutes, or it's like 5 is a lot to get in on those projects.
Wouldn't it be incumbent upon the speaker to ask for more
Right.
time up front?
Yeah, they've not always been given it though. I mean,
Oh, no.
Andy,
I'm-
These do, will have to
Separately.
accommodate different chairs,
Separately, right.
Oh,
which have
okay.
different personalities
Okay.
and.
that's been the crux. That's been the crux of it. He may allow 8 minutes, and it needs it because you're learning something too about the impact on that person, but the next chair may not. It almost needs a harder rule. But
I would like to see
Not
10
that you
minutes.
would-
I
yes.
would like to see 10 minutes. I had some notes back on F on page 2, shall have 2 additional minutes to speak. It seems like we're very specific about minutes, but then unless granted by the chair. So can the chair stop him? Can the chair stop someone in the middle of their presentation?
Not if we've granted them the time.
All right.
It
Right.
would be odd to stop them.
Okay.
we could add a third bucket here of it's 3 minutes for each person, 5 minutes if you represent a group, and then a third bucket if you are a contested,
Rebuttal?
what do you call it? A person that is a direct impact, like has representation for a party of the
That would be a
procedure or hearing. Like a
Counter
third bucket,
comment?
like a party of the item.
Well, again, we do these every year. We
know.
can
was
do
gonna
a
say-
Change
test
it if it
run
doesn't
of
work
10 minutes and
for somebody.
up
Yeah,
to 10 minutes.
yeah.
You
I
could
don't
say-
think it'll be
You could say up to 10 minutes.
Up to 10 minutes. Yeah,
Okay,
that's
that's
better.
it. And he can.
Okay.
Well, we do up to 10 because, and then the chair.
There's really no incentive for them to do this because 2 speakers would go 6 minutes and
Yeah.
so they wouldn't even,
We don't really have this occur
Yeah,
a lot.
right.
It's not like City of Palm
Not a
Coast where
danger,
they're
right.
okay.
stacked deep.
Everybody
but
okay with that?
Mhm.
Okay.
I felt very rushed for those parties that were direct for them.
Right. All right, we'll go page 5. We'll kind of do just to go page by page here at the beginning.
Yeah, I'm a
And
little-
let's go talk, maybe we can talk, since we did quasi judicial, and I don't know if it comes up somewhere else. Ex parte is part of page 5. Is this a good time to discuss ex parte and what is expected and what's required? So I'll look to you, Al, or Sean, to be able to give guidance on when it comes up and I ask, like I did earlier, ex parte, does anybody have any ex parte to announce? What is it you're looking for to
Well,
be?
ideally, specificity in the communication that you've had. Now, if all of it has been in the public record, in other words, they were all emails sent to you, and we've loaded those up, for that agenda item,
Right.
so other people can look at the commentary. I think saying that I have not received anything other than emails that were distributed by the
Right.
people that are interested in this issue. However, if you want to ideally be safe, if you met with people, you should disclose that. You should say, I met with the applicant's engineer and that engineer advised me about certain features of the development plan. That's a fuller exposition. Remember, the exposition is not, technically it's for the purposes of the record, but it's really for the benefit of the public who are interested in the outcome, to know who has influenced you and what it is they learned. Now, let me tell you, there's a sequel to this in that it hasn't happened. An individual can come up and say, Commissioner X, you said you spoke with the applicant's engineer. I want to know more about what that conversation was about. People have not invoked that. I've been a little surprised. The lawyers haven't.
But we've had in the past, commissioner will say, yes, I spoke with the applicant. And that's not sufficient.
That really is not sufficient under the law. A court would not deem that to be a sufficient disclosure of the ex parte communication if somebody objected. Now, once the hearing is over, if they haven't objected, I really doubt that they could make a Johnny-come-lately objection, if you will, in the, say there was litigation concerning it. Because their time to do it is right there where you make the disclosure.
And if you are receiving
But I've never
emails-
litigated that. I'm just telling you the way I think it would go in court.
And I've made practice if I get an email and I can't tell if it's just to me, but if I see that the attorneys, Sean, you haven't been copied, and I know it's going to be a public hearing or it's already on the agenda as a public hearing, I've taken the practice to forward that to
Yes.
legal department
Thank you.
and to Adam so that it can be put into the agenda backup, because it's otherwise it needs to be disclosed, and it's much easier, much more simple to have it forwarded to the appropriate people and added to the agenda backup material.
Absolutely. Then it's accessible to them.
Right.
And what if you don't open it at all?
You don't open it?
Hmm. Sorry.
No, I think that the proper thing to do is to say, I did receive a communication from whatever, but I chose not to read it.
Read it.
Right, you can choose not to meet with them if they ask
Yes,
applicants,
correct.
you have that,
Correct.
you can
Yeah, you
say,
have
no,
that
I'd rather
prerogative.
not.
So do you disclose ex parte and say, I believe I received an email from that person,
But I didn't open it?
but I didn't open it?
Yes, you can say that.
Must you say that? Just because it came into a mailbox or a
okay,
text doesn't
This,
necessarily
this is
mean.
not a legal requirement,
Right.
okay? But it'd be better to do that because that they learned you received one because they queried our public records database and saw that you did and you didn't, they could try to make some kind of stink about it.
Do we have the technology to determine if it's been read or not?
Yes,
Okay.
I think we do.
They got me on that once, but the thing is, I didn't read all the way through the email. So I didn't have the information that I was supposed to have,
Right.
but they got me for opening the email.
Did they? Well, that way in the situation, let's pretend like you're at ground zero right now on that particular situation with the disclosure, you say, I'm making this up. I did receive a communication from the applicant's engineer and I started to read it, but I did not complete my reading of it.
And even if you don't want to read it, you can forward it to Sean or Adam
Yes.
without reading it.
That's right.
Lucky Sean. Good luck, Sean.
Yeah.
Can we go a little bit further up? Because I'm sure this is very subjective, but is there, the definition of competent substantial evidence is what is a reasonable mind, that's the first problem, would accept as adequate to support a conclusion.
Well,
That is out
from the
there
co-
vague. That is out
that-
there vague.
That is from the court cases.
Okay. There must be a factual basis. So can I take information from an online search on Google to be factual?
Your obligation quasi judicial is you must disclose any facts that you are relying on.
No, I'm up further up
but
on
it's on
what
the-
is quasi judicial.
That's on the third line here. It's on the second line on the top, Kim. Right
On the
here.
top of page 5,
Yeah, that's where I'm reading from.
It's the second
while
line
the
on
board
top,
welcomes comments,
towards the end. In a
must be
quasi-judicial
supported by
action.
competent substantial
Mhm.
evidence as presented to the commission. Those are important words. You're generally not allowed to consider anything that's not been put into the record,
Right, so it comes into the record.
okay?
And what the presenter thinks is competent substantial evidence, I don't think is
Oh,
competent.
you can come to that conclusion.
Okay,
Okay, I'm sorry.
yeah, that's all right.
Okay, I misunderstood your approach there. Absolutely. I mean, it's for you to judge ultimately it's for you to judge what is competent, substantial evidence.
And that's where subjection, I mean,
There
we could have
can be
four
a bit of
ideas
element,
here.
could
Okay.
be an element of subjectivity, certainly debatable. The courts recognize that. The courts will not, if you've had the evidence presented to you and it is very clear, if the court's perception of the proceeding is that you had it, you entertained it, they're not going to question unless you're way off the reservation, on some weird fact finding, they're not going to reweigh the evidence. They don't want to. Think about it. They don't want to. They weren't here. They're only going to strike what you do if you go way outside the lines.
All right, page 6.
By the way, let me just mention, since some of this is a little bit like learning procedures, it is perfectly okay for you to ask a presenter, Well, I mean, you know, you get your opportunity to question, you can say, look, I heard what you said, but tell me your factual point that you're trying to make. It's not registering with me. You can ask for that. You have to think of yourself sitting there as a judge. And if you think of court cases you're familiar with, you see judges question people who are presenting just to get clarification and be precise so that they are perceiving things correctly as part of their decision-making matrix.
Stop dancing around. Just tell me the facts.
That's right.
Stop trying to confuse me.
Well, I get more confused when all the people come up that are trying to rebut what was just said. What is the fact and what isn't? I mean, that's where I get hung up, but
Well,
we'll play it
sometimes it's
out.
degree. They may be saying, for example, and this is typical because this is a standard we have, adverse impact. We have that standard in a number of ways. So it's in the eyes of the beholder, right? Who's being impacted. So somebody will be explaining to you why they think it's adverse impact. Somebody will be saying, no, it's not, and this is why. And that's up for you to weigh. And you can use your common sense. You're not required to leave your common sense at the door.
It's also opinions,
Been
too.
doing that.
It's also opinions.
Yes, yes.
In my opinion, it's not fair. In his opinion, it's
Right.
fair.
Correct.
Well, is it fair? Is it not a fair? Does anybody know?
I would just say on page 6,
You know.
item number 4, we've repeated the 5-minute for a group, so we can change it there as well. Anything else on 6? 7? All right, so then page 8 is little backup on the agenda. Kind of explains the different parts of the agenda as we move through. A question on adjournment. I've had this question. What is the Roberts rules for adjourning? Is it one person makes the motion to adjourn as long as we followed, I read somewhere, as long as we followed the agenda and we haven't deviated from the agenda, just a motion to adjourn is sufficient without a second?
Yes, that motion has priority to be considered.
Right, so the commissioner only has to say, I move to adjourn, and that's it, gavel,
Correct.
done. Okay.
We do have a gavel.
I've never used one, but I'm sure if I needed one, one could be found.
I got one.
Oh, it's in my drawer.
You got one too, then, apparently.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
All right, get practicing.
Are you warning me?
No, get practicing.
I have on page 8, item B, number 1. So the county administrator shall have the board discretion in managing, have the power to add or delete items. Is it the practice or policy that if someone fills out an application, I assume we're still doing that online? We used to fill them out online. Do we fill out, the general public, do they fill out their application to be on the commission meeting online?
We don't have
We
that
don't
here.
have an application to, you're saying to appear and speak in front of the board? We
Right.
don't have a sign up, or they just show up and when the chair opens it up for public comment, they come forward.
But there's not a way for someone in the public to go online and fill out an application to appear?
No,
Oh,
not that I'm
maybe-
aware
We
of.
used to,
All right.
I know
we-
why you're thinking of that. We
Okay.
used to have that process.
Okay, not anymore.
Not, yeah.
Okay, so if it happens at a meeting, the administrator can't deny it because it's at a meeting. So I guess my question is, well, this is my question. Does the person that requests to come before us get notified that they have been denied and why? Do you leave it open? Mr. Longello, for instance.
Oh, he
during-
was advised in spades.
okay. he made a comment
Just
that
letting you
he's
know.
been trying to get on the agenda. How does somebody get before us? There's the question. How does somebody get before the
They
commission?
ask.
They ask.
They can ask during the 3 minutes. They have us as representatives to
Okay,
talk
to
about
call
the
us.
issue.
All right.
And usually at board member comments at the end
Mhm.
is the opportunity for you to bring new information to us. And the typical procedure is if it's consensus, if 3 people at the dais agree with your recommendation, then we can ask staff to spend time on moving it forward to maybe a workshop. So it would be bring it up and under comments, ask for consensus. If you get consensus, it goes to a workshop where we can vet it before I find out if it's valid. Get all the data, basically, because you know how there's
Okay.
3 sides to every story.
All right.
But good question, absolutely. All right, moving on, within this section about the meeting, the agenda. You're familiar with our clerk's office over here doing their important work?
Especially today. Thank you, ladies.
Okay. An
Um,
extraordinary majority must be 4 to 1.
Correct.
Constitutes an extra or.
Well, you can override the rules of procedures with a 4 to 1 extraordinary.
Okay.
So if it was important enough, if the members of the commission deemed it important enough, you can override a specific rule with a supermajority.
Thank you. Gotcha.
So there's flexibility built into it if the need arises.
4/5. Okay. That's the supermajority.
I think if it's okay, I'm going to move to 11 under voting.
Mm.
Let me see if I can find my note here. We've had instance where we've taken ballots where we've written on a ballot, and I want to know if I should add something in here to where at the completion of the ballots being picked up, it was stated, like for committees, so-and-so was appointed to the board, but we've not read the results of the vote, which is public record. We just haven't in the past read who voted for whom.
Oh,
So,
that's correct. But the ballots are required to be collected and provided to the clerk.
right. So I guess the question was, do we want to continue with that? Because anybody can ask for who voted. Our initials are all on the
Yeah.
ones, or do you want to say
That's at
by
the pleasure of the board.
pleasure of the board?
I'm fine with them reading them. It doesn't hurt my feelings.
Right. I just think
Yeah.
if we don't read them, then it's considered
when
like
we
we're
vote-
hiding something, is what it's been presented
Under
to
the
me in the
planning
past.
Oh,
board.
wow.
That it was
Yeah.
deemed a secret ballot is what it was deemed because we didn't
I think
disclose.
that was in a recent article. Someone mentioned it. It was brought up that who did we vote in? Someone thought,
I
you
think
know,
it
that
was the
we
planning
did it
board.
in secret.
think
It
it
was
was the
someone on the
planning board.
planning board.
When we voted
my
in a
goodness.
planning board member.
As if we did it in secret.
I just think it would be, that way avoids that issue if
Right.
at the time we read into the record that how everybody voted, even though it's on a ballot measure. The ballot measure is done so that there's not an instance where somebody can delay their vote to see how
Correct.
everybody else voted. So in an issue where a ballot measure may
Community.
be warranted,
That
we
is
still-
precisely correct as to the reason for the rule.
right?
Hey, we could just have whoever's read at the end how each person voted. That would just take the mysticism away from
Right.
it. If you're up for that,
No, I think it's the right
what do you
thing.
guys think? You're okay with?
Any thoughts?
I'm mindless about that.
Okay.
We're just, like, all these things have come up this past.
And I think
or-
sometimes they have to
Well,
be
it's a
run
public record.
out, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so you might as well let them read it.
We used to just do, so-and-so has been appointed, and that was it. I mean, I never had anybody complain because
We did
did you?
recently. It was in
It's
the-
just different. Roll call, you go down the line and the person who's last
flip it.
can make a politically determined vote instead of at the secret ballot eliminates all that.
You start from 1 or from 5?
I switch it up.
I don't think so.
All right, we're up through 11. Any other comments through 11?
Mm-mm.
Everybody's familiar with the conflict of interest form. I know Kim should be from Flagler Beach. Yep, and your planning board, right? Okay.
Where do we find that form? Is it handed to us or is it up here at the dais somewhere?
That's, the clerk will have that for you.
We just ask for it?
Okay, and reconsideration, I think, again, everybody should know that if we take a vote at the next meeting, has to be the next meeting, right, Al?
Yes.
So at the next meeting, it can be reconsidered if a person who voted
Today
For
on
it.
Sunday. Right.
can bring it back up. Who's ever in the majority, whichever way
Right.
it went, whoever's in the
Ah.
majority can bring it back up for reconsideration.
So you can bring the subject back forward
Right.
into the next meeting.
You do it at the next meeting, it has to be
Correct.
brought, it could be
Okay.
brought up at the end under,
So,
But you have to
Um,
be all nays or all yays to,
you have
not
to be in
all,
the,
but a majority
you
of
have to
it,
be in the
yes.
majority, whether it
Right.
passed or failed.
If it's a may, it's,
so on this one, does the administration like not execute any, do they wait till the next meeting before they execute contracts and everything in case something like this were to ever occur?
so we voted on something and then.
Is there a
Meeting,
rescission
somebody said,
period where you're
wait a
just
minute,
holding for
no.
2 weeks until we have a meeting to ensure that we don't walk something back or?
Given the load of issues that are on the county, when you guys approve something, we rock and roll.
You run with
I
it.
think that would be the consideration of bringing that back up.
Yeah, that would be scary.
So where do we sit with that at this point? That's the question.
It's hard, that's a hard one because it doesn't happen. I haven't been here, but I have seen it. The city has done it several times recently. Somebody's tried to walk something back. But I was, if we've already executed it, then it's an issue.
Yeah, on contracts and stuff,
It sounds like you could take a nay and make it a yay
Maybe
instead of a yay and make it a nay.
it's the due diligence in the contract and reviewing those to eliminate some of those possibilities as long as we're, would have to be an error or something, an omission,
Right.
and then
maybe the
staff
contracts
would
can
bring it
have this
back up.
baked into it. I don't know. It's unlikely to happen, but something to think about. Maybe if you feel like you're going to be walking back, you're bringing it back up, we should get with the administration sooner than later before the next meeting.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, if you, that's a good point.
Yeah.
To let us know there's
Take
a
advantage
warning.
of that time.
Yeah, let 'em know.
Right.
Caution.
Got a little yellow flag.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, page 14, general provisions, newly elected commissioners. How was your onboarding? A lot of work, right?
I think it was very valuable. I think it really was fabulous to have we originally were set up for the Citizens Academy, which would have been distractive to me because there would be other people in the room that didn't have the same interest or the same concerns. I think the one-on-one with the department heads was such a benefit where we could get to know them. They would get to know us, and we'd be able to work with them on a better level in the event of questions and concerns and thoughts. And if you're in a room full of citizens that have nothing to do in the afternoon except go to the meetings and wants to get a little T-shirt or something like that, that's great. And I think it's a wonderful program. I have friends that I have recommended go into it who are going to be in it, which is wonderful. But for us, with the knowledge and the amount of workload, I feel much easier in my seat today because I know who's in the back room and I know what they're here for. So I think it was great. I think that should be done with every new person to orient. What do you think, Kim?
I haven't done any constitutionals meetings yet, but I probably will after the first of the year, just to, just for some time with them. Yeah, everybody was prepared. We had handouts. I put a whole book together with all the handouts
I got a whole tub. A whole
And,
tub. It's for bathroom reading.
Yeah, and it's good to, be able to put a face with a name and walk through the departments and, meet the other folks.
Staff.
But no, I think it was a good onboarding, very good.
Good to hear. See, 14 and 15.
If I can add another comment to that, I think each department was vested in their business of what they're doing and truly had it in their hearts and souls to do the right thing. That's, to me, is amazing. That's the works of the operations, and I think that's great. I was really impressed with that.
Thank you. Page 16 is the advisory boards. And from time to time, these are all, not all of them are recorded, right? But you can watch the planning board meetings. It's good from time to time to pop in on one of these, give staff a, I think they like a little heads up, but I think I've been to almost all, I don't know if I made a library board of trustees. And then on page 17, that's general rules for citizen boards, committees. There's 2 pages of that. And then the last thing was the exhibit is the Code of Ethics. Last year, we adopted the Florida Association of Counties Code of Ethics. So this is a copy, and this is what the commissioners have, as a board, we've approved these as our ethical principles and Code of Ethics to follow.
May I go back to page 18 for a moment?
Yep.
Item 19, newly appointed members of Planning and Development shall complete the online training in growth management. Could I get instructions, Heidi, on how to sign up for that? I know, do I have to be? Can I just be a new commissioner?
You can do it. It's through the Institute of County Government, the FAC.
Okay,
So they're classes, online classes. I think it would be great to get you set up and take those. It was instituted. That was a new rule last year.
it's
That
very
because
much
we had
needed.
planning
Yeah.
board members with varying degrees. We've got engineers and planners, landscape architects that have all come through, which have the
Yep.
training in it, but others that haven't had any experience at all in land use issues. So it's
If I could just get instructions on how to, I've been on that website for FAC, but I don't know if I have to sign up, whatever.
I
have
think
to
you
do.
have a login through FAC.
I don't have one yet.
Okay, so we'll
They,
set
they
you up
might
with that.
provide that this week. I think you're going to FAC.
Tomorrow.
So they'll probably provide that as a new incoming
Oh,
packet.
all right.
Part of the boot camp.
I'll
You can
check.
process.
I'll let
probably
you know
ask
if I
them.
don't.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
All right. Any other comments on the rules and procedures?
So do we also have advisory folks or advisory committees, I should say, for short-term that this ordinance or not ordinance, resolution may not work for, or bylaws, where we just set a goal, have a committee, and then dissolve the committee?
That would be preferable. Some of these, though, don't have that written into them, like an expiration date
Right.
or a task. But I think that is what we rely on now for creation of new ones is what's the purpose
Okay.
and stating the sunsetting within the resolution for new committees so that they have a task to achieve. And then once they achieve that task, they've completed their service.
Be memorizing this kind of
All right. If there aren't any more questions on the rules and procedures, we'll close that and move to our committees. I had Commissioner Hansen's not here. Duly noted, clerk. Mr. Hansen's not here. Okay. So he has sent in an email and has requested if it's agreeable to everybody. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The top 6 he would like to be retained as designee. He's open to
What are the 6?
taking a value adjustment board.
What were the 6 ones?
Sure. It's Ag Museum Board,
Uh-huh.
Friends of A1A Scenic and Historic Coastal Byways Group, Friends of A1A Subgroup, the Scenic Pride, Management Advisory Group of Gitmer, Small County Coalition of Florida, and Town of Marineland CRA Board. The bottom one, Value Adjustment Board, he's open if there's if one of the new commissioners specifically, or if anybody wanted to get on the Value Adjustment Board, he'd be okay with that if somebody else wanted it. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to, and I'm on it as a backup. If anybody's interested, it's 2 days a year, just about, for about a half hour.
Deals with the assessments.
Yeah,
Right.
you chair a meeting.
I
It's
do
pretty
a lot
good.
of research on that.
Okay.
All right,
Yes, you chair the meeting, so you
Yeah.
are the chair of the meeting.
That'd be good. It's not that hard.
It's not.
It's like,
Jay runs a good meeting.
yeah, it's about 5 minutes long.
I mean, Jay has a lot of his,
Hey, I thought you said Jane.
no,
Okay.
Jay. Jay has all the stuff
Okay.
ready for you. So you want to
That would
go
be-
into that one?
I
It's good.
would not be the chair.
You would be the chair, but it's only about a 5-minute meeting.
Well, I'm not worried about the time. I'm
Yeah,
worried
it's
about
not-
what goes into it.
Yeah.
Jay's meeting.
Jay
Follow the
Gardner.
agenda.
Jay's meeting, and I just run the chair.
Mhm.
Right.
Okay.
He gives you evaluation and you read it off like a
Do you want to stay
formality.
as alternate?
That's fine. I can stay as alternate.
All right, so for the clerk's benefit, on the Value Adjustment Board, we're designating Pam Richardson as the designee and Ms. Pennington as the alternate. All right, so let's go, is there an alternate designation for the Ag Museum Board, which is not Ag
I ha-
Museum anymore?
I
but-
have a question, and it's probably not the meeting. Are they an ag museum? The statute removed them as an ag museum. So what is the,
The proper title?
there's a lot of questions I have about it, I guess, but what is that? What is that? Al?
I think the organization is the same, they just changed the title, but you're saying statutes remove them?
Well, maybe that's another discussion for another workshop, but this year, the statute, they are no longer designated Florida State Ag Museum. They were removed, stricken from the statute. So I'm not going to get into it here because we're just picking boards, but I think that's calls a different topic of what are we doing with that property and
Well, they may have in their bylaws, they still may have designated a member being a county commission member. So
right.
even if the name is changed, which I know it
No,
has.
I think Greg should stay there. That's
Okay.
fine. But
Is there an alternate that wants to step forward?
I don't think we ever had an alternate on that, right?
I don't think,
No.
I didn't think we had one last year. I don't know if,
The next
it wouldn't hurt to have an alternate designated.
next week, talked about the history of after this.
Andy, let's.
Might be on there. I didn't print it.
I didn't print it.
Chair, are you asking for an alternate for every committee?
Preferably.
Sometime, yeah.
I'll be an alternate on ag.
Okay, so for the Ag Museum Board, whatever it's called, We have Commissioner Hanson as designee and Commissioner Carney as the alternate. Canvassing board has changed. Both Sullivan and O'Brien, I know Hanson was filling in, but that typically goes to the chair unless there's a conflict. And last year I couldn't do it because I was running, but I can step in and meet the requirements again as chair. There's no more conflicts. So, and this is for the special election.
So we need an alternate for that.
Is the first thing coming up anyway. So we'll need an alternate for canvassing board. It is somewhat time consuming on, okay,
To work as that, because I've been involved with the elections for years.
okay. So for canvassing board, it'll be designee is Dance and alternate is Richardson.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
we can't hear Commissioner Richardson. Your
I
mic,
apologize.
your mic's, oh, there you go.
It's all the way over here.
actually, yeah, move it toward me because Dave did the same thing. Dave would turn his head to look this way, but the mic stayed on that side.
I know when I'm on a hot mic. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Sure, thank you. Okay, and then Career Source, Brevard, Flagler, Volusia. This was Commissioner O'Brien as the alternate. I've been attending the meetings, so had just attended the first meeting of the newly organized consortium board, so I'll stay as designee for that one. But if you've got a passion in workforce development, you could, designee would be,
I would
an
become the
alternate.
alternate.
okay. So for Career Source, Brevard, Flagler, Volusia, Dance will be designee and Pennington will be alternate. How's that? Easy to work over there, group? All right, good. Department of Juvenile Justice Council, O'Brien was the designee, and Ms. Pennington was the alternate. So we need a designee and alternate.
I'll remain the alternate.
Okay, so do you want to do both of these? Do you want both of them to be the same, Kim? Department of Juvenile Justice Council and Department of Juvenile Justice Circuit Advisory Board? If we keep both of them the same, is that okay with you? Okay,
I think it's a Zoom call, I think.
Oh, are they both Zoom?
Yeah, with John Finelli, right, running?
right.
Oh, that's fine. Yes, that's fine.
Okay, so Department of Juvenile Justice Council and Department of Juvenile Justice Circuit Advisory Board, the designee will be Carney and the alternate Pennington. Early Learning Coalition of Flagler and Volusia. The interesting thing here is there's not a conflict, but I am a governor appointee to the board, to the Early Learning Coalition. So we've had, and this isn't consistent. They alternate between Volusia and Flagler. So I don't recall when that changes. But it's not consistent. So you do fluctuate with Volusia County. It's on and off year to year. So we need a designee and alternate. I can't be the designee and the governor appointee. Okay, so we have Carney as designee. Ms. Pennington, you want to stay alternate?
That's fine.
Can I say one thing for a moment?
Absolutely.
I'm too loud now. I said I'd be at the canvassing board and the value assessment. I don't see that on there. That's why.
Oh, they didn't put it in yet for line 26.
I'm sorry. Okay.
It should be at the very bottom, Value Adjustment Board.
Yeah.
It's gonna plug her in.
I just noticed that they were putting the things in.
And I'm the alternate on that. Thank you.
Thank
There you
you.
go. Yeah, sorry, I started off at the bottom.
Yeah, we've
501, 105.
So I didn't even know we were doing this on the screen. Family Life Center.
I'd be interested in that.
I'll stay as an alternate.
Okay, Family Life Center. Richardson designee, Pennington alternate. Flagler County Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. I'm going to remove my name from consideration due to my other commitments.
I've been serving for almost 4 years, I
You should-
think,
you should
as
go.
a Realtor, so I'll move over as a county official.
Okay. Do we have an alternate? We can leave it blank.
I'll go the alternate. It's my year of alternates. You guys.
It's the alternate.
All right, so the AHAC is Carney designee, Pennington alternate.
I just wanted to mention that Hanson was the alternate previously.
I
So
thought I said that he didn't
Can we-
want his alternates. Was what the instructions were when
He would like to be removed as an alternate on the 2 red ones. I
Yes.
don't know if he only has 2, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you. Flagler County Cultural Council.
I'll take that one too. please.
yeah,
If the
I'll,
ladies will let me.
if I could stay an alternate on that, that'd be great.
Okay, so we have designee Richardson, alternate Pennington for the Flagler County Cultural Council. Flagler County Library Board of Trustees. Both spots are open.
Used to be Don's, right?
Correct.
Let's
They
see,
didn't give
hold
us the
on.
day, did they? Hold on.
Wish we talked about that first.
Sorry.
Where am I?
Not on. You're
It's
the
not
other
on
side,
here.
yeah.
Yeah.
Board of Trustees, monthly, second Monday at 4:30 PM.
I mean,
So it's between our meeting dates.
But possibly a workshop date. We've got a lot of workshops.
Yeah, but we normally do 1 o'clock workshops on
Okay.
the off weeks.
Okay.
4:30 should be fine.
I mean, I don't mind. I don't mind it if Holly doesn't mind it. I live near it, but if you guys want to do it,
Holly doesn't mind you being.
I feel bad. Like, I really think Holly should pick her commissioner for this.
I think. Holly
Okay.
should, yeah.
You know,
Okay.
What do you want? You want it? I can do it if you don't want it.
I'll take it. You've taken a lot. I'll take it if you want to be the alternate. And
Okay.
So Flagler County Library Board of Trustees, Pennington designee, Carney alternate. Flagler County Tourist Development Council,
Chair
that was
gets-
my first year last year. I'd like to continue with
Yeah.
that, but an alternate would be helpful.
I guess I could alternate. I could be probably alternate, if that's okay.
Do you run that?
Yes.
You have to run that meeting too.
Right.
Oh. Oh.
I don't think I missed any yet, so you're safe.
I would say never.
But it's a good learning curve.
Well, I've
Commitment.
done a lot with
You'll be all right.
investing my
You'll be
time
good.
with them. Okay.
Is that a yes or Pam?
Sure, somebody will
Okay.
teach me.
All right. Flagler County Tourist Development Council, Dance designee, and Richardson alternate. Friends of A1A Scenic Historic Coastal Byways and Friends of A1A Scenic Pride. Commissioner Hanson is the designee.
I'd like to be the alternate on those 2.
Okay. Carney is alternate on both. All right. Good job. Georgia Washington Carver Governance Board is no longer.
No longer.
No longer. And Heritage Crossroads,
I would like to remain on that one.
okay. Is there an alternate? I can be alternate if nobody wants to jump on it. Hey, what do you meet? How many times?
We do once a month early in the morning on a Zoom,
Okay,
and we talk about the brick road.
that sounds good. I'll do it.
You pick up bricks, you put them down.
Our new
There's some
friend.
good people on that call, Daytona State folks, and but this is really just a brick road call.
Okay.
And Bulow, a lot of Bulow.
The next line is the Gitmer, Management Advisor Group for Gitmer. Commissioner Hanson is designee. Does anybody want to be alternate? It's the preserve, right? The guano.
Motto, Telemoto.
Go Al, it's all you.
It's like your area, Kim.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's the
Affordable Housing Committee.
There you go.
Can I just confirm one thing? I'm reading down here again. The Affordable Housing Committee, sorry, I'm trying to write stuff down at the wrong time. I believe I was the alternate. Or was,
You can certainly be the alternate. Yes.
and aren't you the,
No.
No, that's Kim.
Kim's. We'll give Pam the alternate there.
yeah, that's.
Oh,
Kim.
yeah, it's Kim Carney that
It's
gets
got
the
Kennedy.
is going to
It's
be the
got
designee.
Pennington.
So D under Carney, A under Richardson.
Thank you.
Oh, good catch.
Okay.
All right, where are we at? We're under Gitmer. So do we have
Need an alternate for that.
alternate is Kim, did you say? Yeah. Okay. Northeast Florida Regional Council. Last year was my first year. I'd like to continue on that. We do have to have a discussion about a alternate, but also on how we want to designate our 3 spots. We pay for 3 spots, and last year we allocated one to the city of Palm Coast for Mayor Alphen. Dave stayed on because it was his last year and he wanted to stay on for his executive committee. So I came on knowing that Dave was coming off, so to continue that. But in the past, Mayor Robinson had a slot from Bunnell where we had one for Palm Coast, or we had 2. I can't remember. I think we had 2 Mission 1. So I would like to have a rotation or have everybody come to an agreement on how you want to designate our 3 spots so that the other players know what's expected. Because we kind of blindsided Mayor Robinson last year when Dave stayed on. So we had to move her off of the regional council, and I'd like to avoid that in the past. I know River to Sea TPO for the small counties, they have groups of them and they alternate down the list every year. So it's important. Palm Coast is the largest city.
Now, they just picked their groups. Did they pick a person for this or no?
I don't remember if it was on their list or not. We'll be able to check, Ms. Petito, if they picked somebody for the regional council.
I don't recall them bringing it up. I don't think it was on their list,
Okay.
but I can check with the city manager.
Okay. So in the past, we've had Palm Coast and Bunnell. Bunnell is the second largest, I guess, area for business. So potential relocations, working with the regional council on regional issues. I can't recall if Flagler Beach has ever had one of the spots, but do we want to rotate it? Do we want just one county commission and then the other 2 spots rotate? I'm up.
I wanted to be at least the alternate on this, only because when talking with, they seem to have a lot of, and I don't know what occurs at the meetings there, but they seem to have a lot of discussions about growth, and there seems to be a lot in my district going on, and this,
their importance in regional growth issues is not what it used to be, but they do review the DRI-sized developments from Jacksonville,
because they're
St.
working on
John's.
Willaca and all
Right.
that. So,
But there's not much in that they do, that they're in charge of, but they are reviewed at that level. So if you want to keep 2 here, what do you want to do with the 3rd one? Do you want to
rotate it.
align it to Palm Coast or rotate Palm Coast and Bunnell?
Do all 3 people go? Do all 3 people meet at the same time there?
They have the ability to, it's in Jacksonville, so
Mhm.
you'd have to get there to Jacksonville. They do Zoom, so Zoom calls are acceptable if you're tied back home. What was your question?
Do all 3 representatives go there?
They all 3 typically. I know Miss Robinson, Mayor Robinson hardly missed. She always Zoomed, but she hardly missed a meeting. Dave, depending on health at the time, would drive, or he would drive with Dave Alphen together, or Dave would Zoom in. So they have options. So knowing it's in Jacksonville and it's regional, they have the Zoom option for everybody.
Okay.
But did
So
you?
our alternate would only be an alternate if our designee could not go. I don't see a reason for two commissioners
But it
on the
says
same board. Why wouldn't you give
any
it?
two commissioners may serve.
Right. There's plenty of opportunities in different subgroups to be involved in
Oh,
the
I see.
regional council.
Oh.
They have lots of areas of specialties and things that
Dave
pop
had
up.
spoken to me about that and thought it might be something I
And
would.
actually, the alternate would be a great spot for the Transportation Disadvantage Local Coordinating Board, because that is also a regional council issue, and it's
The River to Sea one?
funded, not funded, but they do the coordinating for the transportation disadvantage. So the alternate
I
would
like
be
that.
best served to be the designee on that one, so that they can learn and get more involved in the
That was
regional
one
council.
that was
And-
one that
You
interested
know,
me.
because it's economic development, I'm almost leaning towards putting Palm Coast and Benel on it. But because of what,
Go with me.
about the,
They do, right? They've helped us on our economic, on the economic development side. They do the studies on
because
return on investment and things like that.
we have two board representatives typically from us and then one municipal. But
Right.
rather than sending a second from our board, we would just send two municipals.
That's an option.
I'd like to see that.
Well, they've done that. Yeah, that's what they did last year, right?
No, last year was
No?
2 commissioners and Palm Coast.
Okay.
So if we go back to 8 commissioner and 2, again, we're paying for the slots, so but however we determine, we think
We
they're
just
gonna
get
be
paid for a
best.
fourth spot.
No.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay, so do you want to make Benel and Palm Coast?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, very good. So we
Larger
have,
populations.
as a alternate, Ms. Yeah,
I'd like to be the
Okay.
alternate.
so designee for the, where are we at now? Regional councils, dance, and alternate is Pennington.
Mhm.
We'll get a letter out to them.
I'm sure somebody would be interested in that.
All right, Public Safety Coordinating Council. This is led by the sheriff. He's the chair of the meeting.
Nope, yeah, quarterly on the second Wednesday.
I would be interested in that if,
Anybody else?
unless anybody else wants it.
All right, so it's Public Safety Coordinating Council, Richardson designee, Carney alternate. Okay, River to Sea TPO. I've been for, actually was the River to, they are a TPO representative in my school board days and transferred over. And this is the local agency that really is the clearinghouse for transportation projects. They vet them and prioritize them, and would like to stay chair, but an alternate is very helpful on that one.
Stay on? Which ones?
No, Greg didn't want to stay on the alternate, so his 2 alternates are free. The meetings are at the airport in Daytona. They're monthly. They do have a Zoom option. And as alternate, probably better to Zoom and start to get acquainted with what's going on there. So you don't necessarily have to travel to Daytona. I travel just,
I can be the alternate.
okay, so we have TPO, and now it is officially, because the entire county is now part of the TPO. It's the Volusia Flagler TPO and not River to Sea. So dance designee, Pennington alternate. School Planning Oversight Committee.
One Thursday in June.
Right. So I'll retain there due to my knowledge of school issues. But I think we have 2 seats, right? So this isn't
It's
necessarily an
2.
alternate, but it's 2. So the second person would be a designee. So we have 2 designees for this.
I'll take one.
So we have Dance and Carney for the School Oversight Committee. Small County Coalition of Florida, Greg would like to retain that. Anybody want to be the alternate? I
That's
don't-
fine. I'll be the alternate.
Um,
We have to go to the meetings. So you have to go to
oh,
the,
I know what that is. It's the same, the conference?
you have to go to the conference in June. You gotta go to the conference in.
Yeah, December and the
Is it
conference.
an alternate?
We really just
It's-
have a,
It's not an alternate. It's both have to be
It
there
says
in
March,
attendance.
June, and November. You don't have to apply for that? You
You-
don't have to apply for that through the League of Counties or anything?
No, no,
Okay.
they're like a lot.
All right.
You have to go to the meetings though.
is it two?
It's two.
It says here too, it
Everybody
says,
like going to the meetings?
I'm at most of them anyway.
You might as
so-
well take the alternate because I was going to
no,
say
I'm
I am not
sorry.
at most.
I'm
of the
sorry,
meetings.
there's three. There's one in March in Tally,
I go to
one-
that in June.
the
but I
annual
don't do
meeting in
November.
June, and legislative conference in November.
All right. I can be the second one.
So who's going to be the first?
Hanson. There's
Okay.
two designees
he's
for this
staying
as
on
well.
there?
Yeah,
Okay.
there's two designees.
So it's Dance.
And
Okay.
Hanson. Town of Marineland CRA Board. That would be
Greg
an
got it.
alternate. Carney, alternate, Hanson, designee. Transportation Disadvantaged Local Coordinating Board. That's our bus system. Yeah, I don't mind doing that if nobody has it, but it's a good,
I
it's
guess,
a good primer if you're,
yeah, I was going to say, I guess I would take that on. I'm
okay.
used to working with handicapped people.
Okay,
so.
so we'll do Richardson as designee and I'll stay as alternate unless somebody else wants it. Okay, then we've done Value Adjustment Board.
So we're missing, didn't the city have, didn't the Humane Society offer to place someone on the
They
board?
did, you're right. So
And
but it's
somewhere,
not clear, right? Do you have
they
any?
only allowed one person, either from the city or the county, to attend. We're not allowed to have representation from both on their board.
Correct. What they had responded with was that their board approved one position. So internally, there really wasn't a discussion other than they said between the county and the city, you have one. And then the city had it on their agenda for their committee assignments, and they've appointed Council Lady Pontieri to that position. So I don't know where that kind of leaves us. I know internally we had looked at how much money we contribute versus some of the other, entities, municipalities, and I think that we contribute a lot more in the way of financials. So, but it sounds like they've kind of filled it with Pontieri, and then maybe there will be a discussion as an alternate where we would then have somebody. We would just have to work it out with the city.
Or we
at
could
this point.
ask the Humane Society to clarify the rules and maybe make it alternate from year to year to avoid any future conflicts.
Yeah, we had talked about doing something in the way of when we renew their contract is kind of spelling out maybe a little bit more detail what that looks like.
So we could write in another seat if we want.
Well, and then who knows where we are going forward.
Right.
So I think
I'm
Ms.
okay with it.
Pontieri, the reason it got brought up to me, because she said, they said in the meeting that I could be the alternate, like someone from the county, and she just thought of me because she knows that we're all been pushing it. So we could just, I guess if she needs someone, she can't attend, she can reach out to the county and they can send one of us.
So we can,
Put the schedule, because do any of the days conflict, like
Yeah.
times?
got a
That was my
problem.
question. So
That's-
do we get notification
Like,
from
how
these
many of us
boards that
know
we're
that?
now their designee and they start sending us packets?
I
Is
think,
that happening?
I think,
Yeah.
Or Rose
Lucy
going to
takes
coordinate
care
all
of
that? Good old Rose?
Poor Rose.
I think that's.
Poor
falls
Rose.
under-
Find a conflicting time or something, just let us know and we can
Okay.
mention it at the next meeting to fix it.
I guess we'll change dance studios.
All right, so the ones that I had to make sure we did was Value Adjustment Board, which is done. We only have, right, we have that done. Canvassing Board and Career Source second, so we're good there. Anything else? Ms. Petito, Al, any other things?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. All right, so thank you, everybody. We are? Yep, that's next.
Are we going to get a copy of that?
Pardon me?
Are we getting a copy of that?
Yeah, Rose. Rose
Okay.
will get you all.
Good. Thank you.
We'll work to add all those different meeting assignments to your calendar, so that way you'll be
It
aware of
will,
it.
it will really feel real.
Yes, you'll see in your
I
inbox all of these appointments
the
start
scribbles,
showing
they-
up.
Look, if you can read this, you can get a degree.
You're like, click,
Well, and then,
click.
what we failed to tell you is someone will reach out, want to meet and spend time with you and to
Right.
teach you the role, and some of them certify you or.
Can't wait.
All right, with that out of the way, we're on to number 3. This is the legislative priorities for 2025. Holly, the floor is yours. Does anybody else need a restroom break?
Hold it.
Okay.
I feel like I'm a blanket in the back. Might need to.
We'll
bring
give
it
Ms.
back.
Bennington a minute.
Got cold because
Did you put
nobody's
those
in
signs up yet?
there. There is, but I didn't attach them to the wall yet. Wait. When we go away in Tallahassee, and where are we going? Tampa? We're going to Home Goods instead of dinner. You won't even, well, did you look
You
at
gonna
this?
redecorate?
Yeah, school board's not gonna know what to do. Let's see.
All right, here we go.
Not
Is
on.
it not working? Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Holly Albanese, Assistant County Administrator, Library Director. I'm here to cover your legislative priorities today. We had at the second meeting in November brought up that we wanted to review this again and look at a couple of other options. So I thought I would go through kind of the whole PowerPoint as without going into too much depth, but I know both Commissioner Carney and Commissioner Richardson were not here at the time these were selected. So should you have any questions, if I go too fast, please just stop me, okay? So we do both policy and funding priorities. So the policy priorities are just basically about any particular statute or whatever that maybe we want them to adjust, or funding that the state already does, such as the Transportation Disadvantage Program. We want them to continue support for that. We ask them to continue support for affordable housing, increase or eliminate the caps on rental and manufactured housing to allow for flexibility in administering the SHIP program. And just so you know that when we start this process, I do ask all the department heads to provide any feedback or anything that they would like us to look at. And then as staff, we also discuss it. And then I bring what we have started with to the board, and then we kind of go from there. So these are the ones that you see. I think there's 11 of them that we kind of narrowed down to. So support increased funding for local water infrastructure projects. So those are conversion programs, septic to sewer, that type of thing. One of the things that we had talked about, because originally we had both beach renourishment and all the water conversion under one. It was decided at one of these meetings to separate those two out, which we did do. So you see continued support of beach renourishment is on there separately. We also have cybersecurity, the scrap and scop, which are the small roads, paving for those. Support amending the Florida statute relating to property assessed clean energy, the PACE program. We talked about that one previously. Support raising the 911 fee to accommodate increased expenses and expansion of technology. This is one that I believe FAC, and you'll probably hear about it when you go to the conference this week. FAC and the Small County Coalition are both supporting. There's a lot more counties that are involved in this as well. Support and increase funding to programs for construction and improvement of trails and trail facilities. This is something that's near and dear to our heart here in Flagler County. We have a lot of trails, and so we'd like to see a little more support for grant programs, that type of thing. Maintain short-term vacation rental legislation status quo. You may have noticed over the last several years, probably going back to 2015, this has been an issue and has always wound up at least one bill, if not multiple bills, on the during the session that will be discussed. Last year, there was a bill that was passed by the legislature, called out Flagler County in particular, but was then vetoed by the governor. So we do expect that short-term vacation rental legislation will come up again this year. And then the last one is continue to advocate for home rule authority. So these are just policy priorities that we'll discuss with our delegates when we get to that point. So the big ones are the funding priorities. We already discussed a majority of these. And again, some of you, what we did was originally we had 15. We narrowed it down to 9. We're back up to 11 based on our last meeting where it was suggested that the session has some themes and that we might want to add something in related to agriculture. We reached out to Laura Valencia, who is our extension director, and we talked to her about some of those possibilities, and those are the last 2 on this list. But I'll go through each one individually. After we did this, we had narrowed it down to 4 that we were going to have as our funding requests, and we were going to push these forward, and hopefully they would gain bill status and then maybe receive some funding. But coming back, we're now starting from the original 9 plus the 2, so you can go back to the 4 that you had already narrowed it down to. You can choose different ones, but there's not a lot of money this year, so I wouldn't recommend pushing too many funding requests forward. So the first one was brought to us by the Supervisor of Elections and new headquarters. She has about 10,000 square feet currently, and Katie Lenhart, in speaking to her, she felt that there was a need for about 40,000 square feet, and the spreadsheet that you see there shows we looked at several counties besides ours to compare what the population is and tried to choose counties that were similar in population so you could see where the registered, how many registered voters, how many locations they had and the total square foot, and did they plan to expand. And what we found is many of them said they were going to expand. I would say, you know, between right now 12 and 20,000 is the normal size of square footage that they have, with the exception of Sumter, who has, Sumter County has 45,000 square feet, and they still say they're going to expand. So that was one that we looked at, was a potential, but if we do expand the supervisor of elections, we not only have to expand and build, we have to find a new location because we can't add on to her current location within this building. So we'd have to relocate her, the whole office somewhere else and build square footage. She was recommending 40,000 square feet. If we did that, if we move forward with that, we estimate that's about $20 million to do that. It was not one of the 4 in the ones that we had originally pushed forward. The next one is to replace and construct a new fire station at the current location in Corona. The current fire station in Corona, it was constructed in 1990, was originally a volunteer fire station, has less than 4,000 square feet, not really designed for career firefighters, doesn't have dorm rooms, has 1 small restroom and shower, an inadequate septic system that's overflows. into the station, and there's very little staff parking. So we are recommending to rebuild on the current location. And we estimate that that would be about $5 million. And we're looking at building a 9,000 square foot facility. We have received money in the past from the legislature for funding our fire administration and fire station, and we did receive 10 million for that. So this one was approved previously, so this was another one of the 4 that we were moving forward on. The next one was a joint facility. It's a fire station, sheriff's district office near Cody's Corner, and that would be Station 71. Right now, Station 71 is located at 89 County Road, 2006 East. So portions of the facility frequently flood during season precipitation events. Occasionally, interior office, common areas, and crew quarters flood during heavier events. So it's very disruptive for the facility and emergency response operations. It's an older station on a small lot and has no dedicated stormwater management. So considering the on-site and surrounding areas, low-lying drainage conditions, they expect frequent flooding to continue. So we're looking at relocating Station 71 to somewhere near Cody's Corner. That cost would be $8 million to do that. And we'd be looking at 13,000 square feet for that particular facility. This one was not moved forward of the 4 that we talked about. So this was not one of the 4, but still you can consider it. Okay, the next one is co-location of a new sheriff's district office and a community and cultural center on county-owned land on the Barrier Island. So this would be basically land right off of the bridge, right on A1A, and it's, I believe, a 3-acre parcel site that the county currently owns. The great thing about it is the sheriff could have a district office for his marine unit because that's right on the intercoastal waterway, and then we could have a community center up front. So this would be 2 separate buildings on one parcel. The sheriff's building would be a small 6,000 square foot, and the community and cultural center would be 9,000 square feet total, with 6,000 square feet rentable space. And we're looking at about $8 million for both of those facilities to be built on county-owned land. This was not moved forward, so, oh, no, wait a minute, this was. I apologize. This was one of the 4. So again, this was one of the options.
Question.
I have questions on this one because I went back and reread it a couple times. So,
Yes.
okay, so in the sheriff's, their office is aware of this ask, right? Or are they? Yay, nay, we don't know.
I'm unsure if they are aware of both because the other one, the fire station is also a combination.
Yeah, so, because I guess that's my, some questions here is, all right, we give them a building for a sheriff's district office, right? And then we would expect that budget to come from his budget or ultimately us, but
If
to
I-
operate.
If I could,
Yeah.
these items, the ones that
Yeah.
pertain to the sheriff, when we worked through Mark Strobridge, their chief of staff, and looking at the future planning of how we were going to use the law enforcement impact fees, these locations, co-location of a site out at Cody's Corner, as well as the relocation of the substation up in the Hammock area, they were discussed with the sheriff's office. What hasn't been recently brought up is the board's desire, whether or not we're moving forward. So part of the legislative ask, no, that has not been talked about, but they are aware of the potential requests.
Okay, and then the second piece, the 9,000, this would be a new community center, right? It says cultural center, and this is library activities, cultural. Are we thinking we're opening something?
So
What would operate that, and what are we looking at to operate that? Or
the
more FTE or?
right. The community center portion would be 6,000 square feet. That would be rentable space for programs or events.
Right.
And the other side, which is 3,000 square feet, it would be, we're calling it a cultural center, but yes, it would hold library activities. So there would be materials there for the people on the barrier island who currently don't have access to a library. So that would be there. The library could oversee this facility. We oversee the current library in Palm Coast, which has library activities, as well as community room. And the Nexus Center will have a large community/conference room, which will be kind of
So to me, it's like, so when we're saying we're pushing this forward, it's a new sheriff's district office
Right.
for the hammock, which could argue that I saw the list. He's going to need all these outreach as the county grows over in the westward, so that then you've got a community center. So I know Malacompra is always booked and seems to be popular, but this would kind of be like another one of those, right? Or even bigger. It's 6,000 square feet,
Right.
right?
yes.
And then a library. So, which I'm just wondering if the appetite is there to take on new community centers and libraries, or what does that look like for us?
Mr. Chair, I have another comment too.
Go ahead.
How far would that be? Because it's right over the bridge, correct? And you've got the recreation center, the Palm Coast Community Center is on the other side of the bridge, within a mile.
The
Why
Southern
would
Rec
we-
Center is
Not the
far.
Southern.
Okay.
I don't know.
The
Oh, yes,
initial
community center.
Community
Yep.
center is by the firehouse, which is about a mile from the bridge. And we're talking about going over the bridge. Sorry, I wasn't on the mic again. And having another one right there, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
I think when we were looking at it, it was your constituents that are on the barrier island are not part of the city of Palm Coast. Therefore, they may not be able to use the amenities that the city of Palm Coast has. The city of Palm Coast Community Center was built for the residents in the city of Palm Coast. The people on the barrier island are not residents of Palm Coast. So this would be providing a new updated facility on the barrier island in the unincorporated area.
Their mail says Palm Coast.
Their mail does, but
Right,
they're
so-
not in the jurisdiction, city limits.
And anyone doesn't have to be a resident of Palm Coast to rent this facility, if I understand correctly. Has that been looked into yet?
I don't know that we've looked into it, but I know like internally here, we have different fees if you're a resident versus a non-resident. I don't know enough about the city of Palm Coast and how they operate, but I would think that priority would be given to the residents since that's who paid for the facility and the people on the barrier island are not part of the city.
I think my question is just, are we ready to operate a community in another library center? Because this would be a staffed community center, unlike Malacompra, right?
Well, the community center wouldn't be staffed. I think it's the library
Cultural
that would be
side.
staffed, and the library would oversee the use and of the, community portion of the building. On a 3,000 square foot
Right.
library, you have to have, according to public library standards, you have to have no less than 2 people in the building. So you'd have to have at least 2 staff members.
Okay.
Which makes sense for, if no other reason, for safety. So you're looking at 2. And, the building doesn't necessarily have to be open 40 hours a week, 60 hours a week. It's just whatever we can afford.
Question for Adam. Is this sewer already here from Palm Coast at this site by the bridge? Sewer available.
It should be because you have a lift station on the parcel.
Okay. Have we done any due diligence on the site about any impacts, any potential problems developing it? Oh, so other people have submitted I know
Almost,
most of it's in the floodplain, so I just was curious.
I feel, we had that project at Princess Place, which we had turned down asking for, but it's also a good project. It just, we didn't want to ask for it. And then we have the regional trails and conservation, which is, we haven't talked about whether or not what to do for there. And I just feel like adding the community culture, I feel like this should be phased. I don't know.
This is not one of my favorites.
Yeah, I feel like if we were going to ask for this, it should be phased in. Like we go in with the piece one, which is the sheriff's, and let him do whatever. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, it's one of your four. You don't have
I
to
know it's
keep
a hard
it.
it's
You
a
don't
hard
have
one
to
to take
keep it.
it at 8 million and say here we're going to make 3 things on that. I don't know.
Right.
Like I know that they have a need for having marine unit, and I know that they are going to need all these district offices as the county grows, and that's going to come back on us every time to create district offices. But I'm still waiting to see how we're going to.
Do we currently own the land?
We own the land.
So we could do it in over
Well,
time.
I'm
right?
just thinking if we should have phased it, like this year, we'd go in with part one.
Talked about potentially using a fine grant. Could we create a dock at Herschel King off of Colbert Lane? That is a possibility. We do have a window that we could apply through fine to do that as a temporary,
But
fix.
they don't have anywhere to house staff in the barrier island, right?
They have on Malacompra Road, you have what was used, I think when I first moved here, it was a DMV office. I think it's
Oh,
probably
yeah.
been a couple
that.
different things over time, but it had been a place where you would go get your driver's license. And it's now used by the sheriff's office. It is an old facility. It's off the beaten path. It's not really easily to find, you can't really find it unless you know what you're looking for. So it sits primarily in a residential community, not probably the best location for visibility. It doesn't provide access to the water.
Mhm.
So if anybody wants to push this forward, I'd only think about just phasing it, just saying, okay, let's just start out as a marine unit, figure out what that looks like and cost. And then, if we move that forward, then we can come back with a community center or something. That's I just think it's going to be like a big chunk and a hard sale.
I think
For
you
the
could
larger.
designate the property for both of those purposes in the future. If you want to move forward with
Well, we can, yeah.
just doing the sheriff's part, we could look at that. You're probably looking at it for 6,000 square feet, maybe 500 a square foot. So you're
3 million?
probably looking at, what, 3 million for that alone? Now, what I will tell you is that and I hate saying this, but the legislature will not have an appetite to support a library.
Well, I don't want to say it, but we'll have a hard time going, but if we can get this and plan that piece of property, if we land the district, we can plan for the community cultural centers in the, next year, the future, wherever. But,
Sure.
Do we have a figure, Holly, on what it would be for that fire, for the police portion only?
For just the
The-
sheriff's
The
portion
sheriff's
on this
portion?
one?
Yes.
About $3 million. So, I mean, we could move
Okay.
forward, but that's,
Well,
that's an option. I'm just saying that I know for a fact that the legislature won't have an appetite to fund a library. So if you don't do it as one, you can do the sheriff's now, and they may fund it, but you won't get any funding from them for the library portion.
How about we do a blind ranking? So we have,
Well, we're not
we
through
can
them
move on.
all.
We can move on and look, but I would say, I think if we're going to go forward, it might be easier to take this one in pieces. Because,
If it was one building, they were sharing one building,
yeah, and I don't think
co-location,
they would
that
share one.
your co-location, not joint facility, so it might be a little different if it was a joint facility, but with co-location, you might have a hard time getting the legislature to fund construction of 2 buildings on one property, but that's
I would say, let's take this page, initial it and highlight your top 4, and then give it to Holly.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we have others, construction of a countywide animal shelter. We talked about that previously. I'm not going to go into too much
No.
detail other than to say, it's a possibility. What you see on the other side of the screen is just a picture I happen to find online of an animal shelter that,
I
so,
like the Kateri,
yeah.
Catatari,
The
whatever it is.
yeah.
It's missing a bird
So-
room.
So it's just a sample. That's all that is. But, if we built 30,000 square foot, you're looking at $15 million. So that was one. That was not one of the 4 that moved forward, just so you know. The Regional Trails and Conservation Center, this was the Regional Trails and Conservation Center that's going to be built on county property. TDC is already in the process of moving forward with this. We did push this forward last year. It got to bill status. It even received some money in the budget, but the governor vetoed it. So we did not get money. This was not one of the 4 that moved forward this year, but we can come back to that. My understanding is it's going to be a 10,000 square foot center. That may have changed. Amy is here to talk about it if you'd like more information on this center, but I think she's really done a great job of presenting this in a previous meeting, if I recall. So it may not be necessary to go over it again, but originally we had requested 10 million from the legislature. But now with the money, then the funding that the TDC has found, they're only requesting 3 million. So it's a lot less than what we were asking for last year.
But it's the same plan, right?
It's the exact same plan and building, and the location hasn't changed. It's just we're asking for a lot less. Last year we asked for 10, they put 5 in the budget, and the governor vetoed it.
Okay, thank you.
The next one is the expansion of infrastructure along US 1. And this was one of the projects that was moved forward. It was budgeted last year, basically half of what we requested. So we requested 22 last year. I think it was not quite 11 million was budgeted, but the governor did veto this along with our stormwater projects. And I think it's because the state had put a lot of extra money into DEP for water projects and had expected counties to move forward with grants. So requesting the money through grants versus through legislative projects. And just so you know, this project, along with the 2 stormwater projects that you're going to see, have been requested through the DEP grant that was required to be completed by July 15th, and they were all submitted by July 14th. And I have been in touch with our lobbyists to find out where we are on it. And there was some turmoil within DEP, changing staffing, so it's delayed a little bit on the decision-making. My understanding is it's in the hands of the governor's office, and we should hear sometime in December or January. The governor's office will make the announcement for these particular grants. So chances that you could push this forward, and then in January, we're going to hear that maybe we got the money through the grant, we no longer need this as our legislative ask. So, but then again, if you don't put it on your legislative ask and we don't get the grant, we can't add it in later. So it's kind of a catch-22. I had hoped we would have heard by now, but we have not. But if we hear before anything, I certainly will let you know, because if there's any way of moving things around, if we receive the grant, I'd love to be able to do that. So this is basically bringing water and wastewater to the underserved area of US 1 to open up that whole corridor or part of that corridor going towards Volusia for economic development. Right now, we don't have that there, so. And that would cost 22 million. We would work with FGUA who already provides for Plantation Bay. We would work with FGUA to provide the water and wastewater along that corridor. This is one of the stormwater projects that I briefly mentioned. It's the Malacompra Canal Restoration, Design and Construction. It has been submitted for that same DEP grant. Don't know if we're getting it, but it was part of the, and we didn't ask for construction on the stormwater projects last year. We asked for design, study and design, and it was 1.5 million. That was vetoed. That's what was vetoed last year, not the actual projects themselves. This is the actual project for the Malacompra Canal restoration, and that cost would be a little over 8.7 million to do that one. The next one is the design and construction of the Black Branch North Drainage System to support and protect the area along Old Hawk Creek Road. That one, again, was part of that overall design and study that we had requested and was subsequently vetoed. This is for an actual construction project. So we're looking at 3.3 million. And this was another project we put forward for that DEP grant. And again, we don't know at this point if we're getting this money or not. But this is one of them. The thing about the Black Branch North Drainage System along that road is that the State Guard is over in this area. The new State Guard training facility is being built, and this could potentially protect that training facility as well. Okay, so this was one that in discussion with Laura Valencia, she brought forward, and I apologize, we don't have every last detail worked out of what this particular project is going to look like. But we're talking about improved stormwater management in support of ag land, and I'm not sure, maybe, I don't know if Heidi has any more details on this, but it's to promote stormwater management systems like bioswales, retention ponds, and rain gardens for agricultural properties located on the west side of Flagler County. I threw in a number right now. I really don't know what that cost would look like.
I sort of saw this as when they said that there's a good shot at getting ag. I saw it like this. We have that list from Geosyntec was the group where we had the top 20 ranks of issues, and I kind of thought we could find some of those canals that border existing farms and get some of that stormwater project funded without, because we don't have funding currently dedicated for it. So if we took like Firecracker, Quigley Bay, or whatever, County Road 305, and said, look, these border X amount of acres. These acres are equivalent to X amount of crop, and X amount of economic development, and we need these funded to keep farms farming. And I sort of saw it like that. And then I know we had ARPA funds we could use as a match potentially, or was it ARPA funds? Apologies.
Yeah, and I know we kind of put this together rather
Yeah.
quickly to kind of get it in front of the board for a discussion, but I agree. I think you and I had probably talked about this where we were following the storm. There is some additional capacity needs, I think, on the west side in regards to stormwater. And what we had done previously with the use of ARPA funds was allocate a dollar amount towards stormwater. After the Hurricane Milton had passed, and it gave us an opportunity to look at that collection, that system conveyance that we have on the west side, we were looking at bringing forward a slight change. We actually have it scheduled on your second meeting in December to solidify the use of those ARPA funds for stormwater, where we were requesting quotes for work, and we had identified that whole network that would support farming but would also provide relief to the west side to get a price. And then we were intending to allocate the remaining ARPA funds that we have towards it to be able to kind of start the phase one. I think maybe a continuation of what phase two would look like would be what we would ask legislature to support.
Yeah, because the theme this year, they say, is ag, right? That's what they say the theme is. But I was looking more at our stormwater plan and looking at that ranking and going, how can we say, tie in some of this work to our stormwater plan and show the impact it has on existing farms and economic development? And we'd more likely get a portion of our stormwater plan projects funded if we could tie directly to those ditches. And those farms out there, and show them the pictures, to be quite honest, of what happened out in there of the farms. But I feel like that's a better story for funding, and it would help us with our stormwater plan. So that was my initial thought with stormwater management for the ag farms, was that we give them some of our projects we pull off out of that stormwater plan that we don't have funded, and try to tie it back directly to those farms. So that was where I was going. I don't know what a bioswale is. It looks like a butterfly garden.
Well, the counter to that is we're still investigating some
Right.
dollars through the career source that can be used as hurricane relief for swale, not swale, but for ditch maintenance. They get allocated millions of dollars for these hurricanes, and they've been using them for, a lot of the counties have been using them for ditch maintenance. But I know we're early and still, they haven't been allocated the money yet. It will be in the spring, but we've had conversations about utilizing some of their funds for the same purpose.
Okay.
We have, I think it was probably a week or two before Thanksgiving that we were on a call with them to talk about the need here. We've also mentioned it to our counterparts at the city to see if there was a need within the cities for use of it. They're looking at making an application, a grant application for those funds, probably sometime in January. February is when they'll know whether or not they've received the funding.
The city or we?
The entity that we talked to about the program
Right.
through
So career
CareerSource,
sources.
they have to make a grant
Right.
application to use the funds as recovery to Hurricane Milton.
Right.
They were kind of looking at ideas from us as to how they could apply them. And so we were broadening the scope to include the cities that also have some stormwater challenges related to the Hurricane Milton. It has to be directly impacted from Hurricane Milton. It can't be deferred maintenance. It has to be, repairing or fixing an issue as a direct result of the hurricane.
So if we don't do it this year, we have 2-year window on ag being the theme. It's the speaker's theme. So if we can't get it, maybe we'll build out something for the next ask.
Well, again, I apologize. This was last minute putting it together for you. But if this stormwater, the idea of stormwater management, support of ag land is something that you want to support and you want to push forward, obviously, I'm going to have to get real information. Yeah, so.
Thanks.
All right. The last project that we'll discuss is the relocation and building of a new UF-IFAS Extension Office in Flagler County. The current Extension Office is located near the fairgrounds. It's a metal building. It's more than 20 years old, and really it's met its life expectancy. My understanding is it's also not hurricane rated. Limited parking and space for programs and gardens. It has drainage issues, water backing up into the building, especially during hurricanes, torrential downpours.
Where would this be located? Sorry.
I'm not sure. I know they mentioned in talking to Mike Dixon, there's another piece of property. I don't know if Heidi knows the property where this would go.
This is also on the state land. So as you recall, out at the fairgrounds, we have the property that sits on the east side of Sawgrass Road. Across the road, across Sawgrass, we had constructed the FAA barn. Where we would look to put it is across the road on the property where the FFA barn is. But if you may recall, when we had discussions about the relocation of Whispering think it was called Whispering Meadows, the horse ranch. We had looked at putting it on that parcel, but it would have its own driveway connection further down County Road 13. It would, again, be located on the same parcel, but it wouldn't be utilizing the same driveway as the FFA. It would be further down County Road 13 as you're heading towards Espanola. It would be constructed there. And I was made aware that although Commissioner Hansen's not here, I do have an email with his 4 top picks whenever you're interested in that.
We can go ahead and give them, I guess, right?
Hmm?
Want to hear Commissioner Hanson's picks?
No, I want to
No.
get all
Oh.
of ours turned into Heidi,
All right, we'll turn them in.
if that's okay. Everybody got this page?
Yes.
And you can initial it and mark your top 4, and we'll turn them into Al.
I've got a mess here.
There's 2 pages. 2 pages.
No, one's funding priorities, the
Sorry.
other is
Sorry.
I
never
just-
is
mind.
the policy.
Without knowing about the grant status,
It makes it
it's
hard.
going to be a little difficult because I'm about water and I'm about fixing some of this stuff. But like Miss Holly said, if you pick it as a priority and then you get the grant, then you lost a priority. So this is like abracadabra.
Right,
Yeah.
but she's trying to get,
I
we're
know.
running out of
the,
time to get to
yeah, I
the
know.
stuff, okay.
The one last thing we didn't mention was the ag extension. I don't know, that's a new one for us to consider, but it might actually get a better shot at being funded because it's on state land and it's a UF building. And then that leaves you the existing building, which you could in turn use it for some other county resource.
How big is that building? You probably have it
My
on
understanding
there.
is 11,000 square feet.
11
Nice.
or 20,000.
No, we're going to build 20,000.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah.
The
The,
current
the
one is
actual
11?
current building's only 11,000 square feet.
Andy's done. Andy's seen them so much. But we, for that part, I would say the ag extension is new and deserves some consideration. I think everybody's ready to go home. Not fair, Andy.
None of it is. I would like to do all of them, actually, but
Well, and you don't have to push 4 forward. You could push 5. You could push 3. It's whatever, you desire.
I do like the additional research anyway to be able to have a focus on what we're putting together.
I feel like this comes up so.
Jorge's the official
We should-
tabulator.
We should always start this. We should always start this in like March.
Oh, yeah. What? 7? He didn't follow instructions. No.
Didn't decide that quick. Pressure.
I'm not only done, I'm turned in. Like Final Jeopardy. I don't have an alarm to set.
Your new policy to read what we wrote.
Yeah, good luck.
Well,
Got to speak foreign languages to read that.
Mr.
I would love to have a consensus, but,
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
this
missed
probably
one,
made
too.
it
You know what,
worse.
we
One I missed,
we
too.
have,
Missed one.
we have
too.
Mr. Hanson's too. Do you
well,
have
I
that?
have his
Okay, you
here.
got- Okay.
I have his here, so,
Then we'll
so you
leave
know
him
I've
out.
already taken his, so, we've got, 1, 2. I think we have,
Much.
it looks like 1
We're operating like the federal government.
branch FGUA. No, we've got 2 for Cody's Corner. Let me do the FGUA, because I'll bet you that's 1, 2.
I'll write them down for you.
Anybody got a calculator?
If you want to tell me how many for each, I'll.
We've only got 2 for FGUA. It looks like we're getting a lot, just 2. So let me see. Extension, there's 1, there's 2, 3.
You could just read each one because
we've-
that's,
Okay.
and then we'll keep
So
track
we've
up
got
here.
3 extension. That's the closest I've gotten to it.
Whose are you reading
So
first?
do you want me to say whose they were?
Sure.
So Commissioner Hanson, Cody's Corner, the co-location of the sheriffs and the cultural center, the FGUA US 1, and the Malacompra Canal project.
Okay.
I think this is Leanne's. Ag Extension, Sheriff's Office, but you just wanted the sheriffs, right? You wanted
Yeah, I felt
divide
like,
it.
yeah.
So, and then you have the Black Branch Canal Restoration, and then the US 1 FGUA. Got Commissioner Richardson, Fire Station Corona, Sheriff's Center only, so it's the one on the Barrier Island, the Countywide Animal Shelter, and the Black Branch Drainage.
We're going to be way tied.
We're only allowed 4, right?
No, I mean, you can, as I said, the thing is, there's not a lot of money this year.
No.
So we're trying to be real cautious on how many we put forward. And we want to make sure the ones we put forward are the ones we really want. We don't want them to make the decision for us which one they're going to fund and not fund. And then I think this is Commissioner Dance, improve stormwater management for ag land, design and construct Black Branch.
Nope.
No, that's, okay, then this is Commissioner Carney, Malacompra Canal, and relocate UF IFAS. Okay.
Okay, so we got Malacompra Canal, IFAS, and what else?
Black Branch,
Okay,
and then stormwater for ag land.
Like we're watering.
And Andy, Commissioner Dance, yours are the animal shelter, UF IFAS, Cody's Corner Joint Facility, and then the Regional Trails and Conservation Center.
Wow. Yeah, so
That's why I was like, wait a minute, I'd love to have a
It's funny.
consensus here.
Number 5.
well,
was the
and 2
commission-
asked for the
council
animal
said it, too.
shelter.
2 asks for animal, 3 for the sheriffs, and 3 for Black Branch.
I think you had 3 for extension too.
I had
4
2.
for the extension.
No, I
We
have
had
3.
1
Who
for
was
the
that?
extension.
Okay, so you were 1, Commissioner Dance.
Right?
Kim and
Kim.
Oh, you're right. Yep.
Commissioner Carney,
3.
and then Commissioner Pennington. So you have 3 for
So we
that
got
as well.
sheriff, IFAS, Black Branch.
Which sheriff's part?
Yeah, which one? Is that the one at the,
On the
water.
Barrier Island, but I think everybody was in agreement, just the sheriff.
The sheriff.
okay. So mine was the Cody's Corner Joint Sheriff and Fire Station. So the rest are all 2,
yeah.
right? So you have 2 for Malacompra, 2 for the animal, 2 for FGUA, 1 for trails, 2 for the Cody's Corner, and 1 for Corona.
I'll ask this real quick. The project, because I know we're going for 4, the project, the tourism we now have a match, right? Or more than a match.
You mean
but
the
we
tr-
didn't have it before.
The Regional Conservation
Right.
Center? Yeah. My understanding from, if I recall correctly, and Amy could probably correct me on this, but they had $10 million that they were designating from TDC funds?
So we're good.
10.3?
We're going to be able to show them that we have 7 this
Well,
time.
that's,
or
yeah,
we-
my lone vote was, we've done all the legwork up to this point to get
Mm-hmm.
it all the way to the governor's desk. The change is that we're aligning more with FAC's legislative priorities on trails. So the trails has moved up to the priority as a trailhead and all the other components with it. So my personal feeling was we've done all the legwork to get it up there, but now we're able to move it from education center to more of the recreation side.
Right.
And
we have money to.
that may get us home, but and we've shown a large match.
We never
That
had.
was my
Right.
number 5. by
So
the way.
all of that
'Cause they
kind of
did
swayed me
say-
there.
They did say that if we have a good sizable match, that we were.
That was my
coming in
number 5, by the
strong.
way. I just didn't write it down there.
Maybe we can we agree on that since we haven't
That was in my
it fully
head.
planned in a match.
I'm fine with
So
that.
that would be the 4.
Yeah, and I will tell you with the ag extension project, there one day we can talk about, if we get it and they get a new building, that building maybe fulfilling the need of animal control or something. So always something in the future.
I just like the flexibility in that one, especially from the perspective of being an incubator for different ag small businesses. We've got growing bakery businesses that are operating out of their homes that need some push for that next step of expansion. So some type of business incubator out of that would be, really good as well. That ties in with the ag use.
Laura provided quite a bit of backup information on the potential uses and things that they could do at the new extension office. And I found them very innovative and creative. And I think that the potential is there for sure. Could we repeat the 4 or 5? Sorry.
We got Black Branch.
I've lost track.
Black Branch, which covers stormwater and infrastructure. IFAS, which is multi-purpose, as I see it anyway, is, from the incubator standpoint, but also, supporting our ag centers and being able to free up the other building too as a side benefit. We had 3 for the sheriff-only marine unit.
Green unit, right.
And then there was consensus to add the trail building
Since
as
we
the
now
4th.
have.
As
yeah.
number 4, you want the Regional Conservation Center for $3 million
Right.
Yes.
added. Okay,
Yes,
okay.
yes.
And that includes everybody. We were able to get Commissioner Hanson's in here, which is great. Thanks for reaching out to him.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right,
Good presentation.
thank you.
Very thorough. So now next step is pulling this together for the joint legislative committee
Well,
meeting in January sometime.
So we have a tentative date in January. We don't know if that'll actually happen, but yes, I have to gather all the municipal projects to create the unified agenda, put ours in there, and have it printed for the delegation meeting that we'll have, and we'll move forward from there. We have our lobbyist meeting on Wednesday. Commissioner Pennington will be in attendance at that. So we'll have more discussions on these 4 projects in particular.
Very good.
All right, thank you.
Any other final comments from?
Thanks for all the hard work, Ollie. I know you put a lot into this.
No problem.
Oh, before we adjourn, there was a year ago, we had discussions about, maybe 2 years ago, about coming up with a formalized workshop schedule. So I wanted to present that again, have direction to give the administrator the ability to put together a more permanent workshop schedule. We don't have to use them. We can set the states aside. And if we don't have anything to present, we'll just cancel the workshop. But at least this gives us planning, the ability to plan for workshops and give staff the option that they have dates to put items up, so.
I would prefer to tie it with our meeting so that we're not always, like,
Driving back and
yeah,
forth.
it's either the hour before, or the hour
Just
after.
take that day off.
Yeah,
And.
or,
and-
yeah,
Okay,
or
I'm good
even
with
if we
that.
just,
Talking about a Monday, we're talking about a Monday,
2 Mondays a year, just clear your
Mondays a year.
calendar for those Mondays.
so that would be after or before each, whenever the workshop
Before or
is.
after, correct,
One after and one before,
right.
probably best. And there's one place that meets on the second Monday.
Oh, one of the committees does, yeah, at the, in the evening, the library board of trustees, if I remember
Do we ever have
correctly.
them on Thursdays or Tuesdays or anything like that?
oh, we were kind of just so sporadic. It kind of, you're like, oh, we got one coming up, or, but this would give her a standing date to present.
So we would consistently have a workshop and a meeting that same day.
If
So we could
needed,
block that
workshop,
off.
If
Right,
needed.
but we could block it off for
Yep.
that time.
right.
I think that's a great idea.
That's.
They have one
Tues-
meeting a month, and then the opposite meeting is their agenda workshop. So they,
Do you think we need 2 or 1 a month workshop? Do you think it just needs to be 1?
just schedule them in, whether we need them or not. We'll have the ability to at least plan,
Won't be a surprise.
right? So is there 3? Okay, I got consensus. Thank you. With that, I'll look for a motion. All right, I have a motion to adjourn from
Second.
Commissioner Carney. We are
Second.
adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.